Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show?
With Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
From makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia, this is the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I am your host, Joey Harris. Follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. Email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. And folks, right here up at the top, I just want to send out my best wishes to Jerry Lawler as he is still recovering from a stroke that he suffered last week. So our best wishes go out to the King. Today, Project 45 stops in 2016 as we look at Roadblock from the WWE. WWE Roadblock took place on March 12th, 2016 from the Ricoh Coliseum in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. The event had 9,000 in attendance and was shown live on the WWE Network. We start out with the Then, Now, Forever intro. Roadblock intro featuring what has happened between Triple H and Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt. The New Day come out. Michael Cole, JBL, and Byron Saxton welcome us to Roadblock. New Day gets in the ring. They do their spiel. They then show a box of Booty-O's. They finally get cut off by the League of Nations music. WWE Tag Team Championship match. The New Day, Big E, and Kofi Kingston with Xavier Woods versus the League of Nations, Sheamus and King Barrett. Sheamus and Kingston start. Kingston with a go-behind. Sheamus tosses Kingston over and goes for a waist lock. Kingston takes Sheamus down with the head scissors. Both up and battle for position. Kingston slaps Sheamus several times upside the head and runs away. New Day do their New Day Rocks routine with the crowd in the corner. Kingston jumps off the second rope only to get hit with a clothesline from Sheamus. Sheamus follows that up with a European uppercut. He then hits Kingston with another one and Barrett tagged in. Double Irish whip and back elbows. Barrett kicking Kingston down in the ring. Big E tagged in. He catches Barrett as he was going for a crossbody. Big E then hits a backbreaker to Barrett. Big E beating down Barrett in the corner. Kingston tagged in and he continues to beat down in the corner. New Day continues to tag in and out to keep stomping on Barrett in the corner. Big E then Irish whips Kingston into the corner so that he can baseball slide into Barrett. Kingston rushes Barrett again, only to get caught with the winds of change. Barrett with a series of right hands to Kingston. Sheamus tagged in. He hits a backbreaker on Kingston. Sheamus gets Kingston into the ropes and Barrett tagged back in. Barrett keeps Kingston in the ropes and hits him with a series of knees before tagging Sheamus back in. Barrett and Sheamus doing a good job cutting the ring in half and keeping Kingston on their side. Sheamus pulls Kingston back over the ropes and hits several devastating forearms to the chest. Sheamus then hits Kingston with a shoulder tackle off the top rope. He gets a 2 count. Barrett tagged back in. He gets a rear chin lock on after kicking Kingston's back. Kingston fighting to get back to his feet. Kingston with some double axe handles to Barrett to break the hold. Barrett reverses a corner whip attempt. Kingston sent to the corner and jumps up to avoid the charge, only for Barrett to catch his legs. Barrett throws Kingston's legs up and kicks Kingston right in the midsection. Another 2 count. So Sheamus tagged back in. He goes up top again, but gets hit by a drop kick from Kingston as he comes off. Woods gets a New Day Rocks chant going. Big E and Barrett both tagged in, and Big E hits a belly-to-belly suplex on Barrett. He then hits another one. Big E ducks a clothesline attempt before hitting another belly-to-belly. Big E then hits a big splash on Barrett. He then clotheslines Sheamus off the apron. Barrett kicks Big E when Big E charges him in the corner. Barrett with a suplex and cover for a 1 count. Kingston and Sheamus both tag back in. Kingston with a series of kicks. Sheamus pushes Kingston into a corner. Kingston kicks Sheamus as he comes charging at Kingston. Kingston with a reverse crossbody on Sheamus to get a 2 count. Sheamus throws Kingston into a corner and runs his shoulder into Kingston's midsection. Sheamus follows that up with a running knee into Kingston's midsection. Kingston goes for trouble in paradise, but Sheamus catches his legs. Sheamus puts Kingston into the cloverleaf. Kingston trying to get to the ropes as the New Day Rocks chant goes out again. Kingston reaches out to Big E to tag, but Barrett comes over and knocks Big E off the apron and goes to drive Big E into the ring post. But Big E reverses the Irish whip attempt, and Barrett goes into the post instead. Kingston reaches for the tag again, so Sheamus eases up to drag Kingston back to the center of the ring, but Kingston uses his momentum to swing through and get Sheamus on his back. Kingston gets a 2 count. Kingston hits an SOS. Big E tagged in. Big E gets Sheamus up on his shoulder to go for the big ending, but Sheamus pushes off. Kingston goes up top and comes off with a knee to Sheamus, but lands hard on his head. Sheamus gets Big E in a front face lock and tags Barrett back in. Barrett kicks Big E in the face, but Woods gets up on the apron to distract the referee as Barrett goes to cover Big E. Sheamus comes out after Woods as Barrett gets up to complain to the referee. Sheamus takes off around the ring after Woods, only to get blasted by Kingston as Sheamus rounds the corner. Big E hits the big ending on Barrett in the ring and pins him. Paul Heyman is shown in the back. He talks about Toronto being the new capital for Suplex City and Brock Lesnar warning Bray Wyatt that he would take revenge, and that is happening tonight. The announcers discuss what just happened in the fallout between Chris Jericho and AJ Styles. Jericho comes to the ring and gets in, and he has a mic. He tells Toronto to shut their mouths. They had their chance to cheer for him and instead cheered for AJ Styles. He tells them to go to hell and that he is the greatest hero in the history of the country. The crowd chants, "We want Brett," and Jericho says, "Well, you're never getting him again." Jericho says he is the greatest icon in the history of this country, and he is ashamed of that because he is ashamed to be Canadian. The crowd boos. Jericho says so much so that he moved from this country several years ago, and it was the smartest move he has ever made. He says he moved because Canada stinks. He says Canada stinks, and Toronto is the anus. An asshole chant goes out. Jericho tells the fans they just cheered the flavors of the month and runs down AJ Styles and Jack Swagger. So he tells them to shut up, that he's not the next big flavor. He's the only thing that matters because he's the best in the world at what he does. He gets cut off by Jack Swagger's music. He comes out to a good ovation doing his "We the People" gimmick. Chris Jericho versus Jack Swagger. The bell rings and they briefly lock up. Jericho slaps Swagger. Swagger comes back, causing Jericho to roll to the outside to regroup. Swagger comes out after Jericho and chases him around the ring. They get back in the ring and Swagger hits a back elbow. He follows that up with a corner-mounted punches. Jericho with a cheap shot to Swagger as the referee was getting Swagger away. Jericho chopping Swagger in the corner. Swagger briefly gets away before Jericho stomps him down in another corner. Jericho with a baseball slide to knock Swagger to the outside. The crowd taunting Jericho with an AJ Styles chant. Jericho goes out after Swagger. Jericho runs Swagger shoulder first into the barricade. Swagger gets back in the ring, and Jericho kicks him in the ribs. Jericho gets a 2 count. Jericho with a rear chin lock. Swagger trying to break the hold. He gets out, but Jericho hits Swagger with a drop kick. That gets another 2 count for Jericho. Jericho comes back with a hammer lock. Swagger gets an arm out and hits Jericho with the back elbow. Jericho reverses a corner whip as the crowd chants CM Punk at him. Fickle crowd here tonight. Jericho goes to bulldog Swagger, but Swagger pushes off and Jericho lands on the second rope groin first. Swagger follows that up with a series of clotheslines, then a pair of corner whips and another corner clothesline. Swagger goes for the Swagger bomb, but Jericho gets his boots up. Jericho goes for the lion salt, but Swagger moves out of the way. Swagger then hits the Swagger bomb, but only gets a 2 count. Swagger with a corner whip. Jericho with a boot up on the charge. Jericho struggles a bit, but gets Swagger set up for the walls of Jericho. Swagger uses momentum to push Jericho off him. Swagger goes for the Patriot lock, but Jericho kicks him off before he can get it locked in. Jericho ducks a clothesline attempt and hits Swagger with an enziguri. Jericho goes for the code breaker, but gets caught and slammed down by Swagger. He gets an extremely close 2 count. Jericho goes for a crossbody off the ropes, but Swagger catches him again and goes for the Patriot lock. Jericho reaches for the ropes and then grabs the referee's leg. He uses that for momentum to get to the ropes. Swagger has to break the hold. Swagger rushes Jericho, who sidesteps Swagger, and Swagger crashes into the turnbuckle. Jericho with the double leg pickup. Jericho gets the walls of Jericho on, and Swagger taps out. A WrestleMania commercial. Feature on the Revival and Enzo Amore and Big Cass. Enzo and Cass come out with Carmella and go through their spiel. They aren't my cup of tea, but they are popular with the crowd. NXT Tag Team Championship match. The Revival Dash and Dawson versus Enzo Amore and Big Cass with Carmella. Enzo and Dash start. Both men go after their opponent's partner in the ring, and now all 4 in the ring. The referee gets Cass out of the ring and allowing the Revival to double team Enzo to get him down. Dash gets Enzo down and then corner whips him. Enzo jumps up to avoid the charge and Hurricane Rana's Dash out of the corner. Enzo follows that up with a crossbody off the ropes. Dawson comes in and Enzo hits him with a drop kick. Enzo then grabs Dash in a wrist lock and drives him face first into the mat. Cass tagged in. He gets Dash into the corner and chops him in the chest. Another chop to Dash, and then Cass corner whips Dash and then sidewalk slams him. He gets a 1 count. Cass then gets Dash up on his knees and gets an armbar on. Dawson tries to tag himself in, but gets cut off by the referee. Dash takes back over, but Cass reverses a corner whip and backdrops him. Dawson comes off the top rope onto Cass, who hits Dawson with the right hand to knock him out of the ring. Cass gets Dash in the corner and tags Enzo in. Dawson comes in, so Cass launches Enzo at him to knock Dawson down. Cass then throws Enzo into Dash to hit Dash with a flying forearm, and Cass then lifts Dash up and throws him on Dawson. Dawson tossed outside and Dash thrown on him, and Michael Cole says the champs are reeling. The Revival get back to their feet, and Cass launches Enzo onto them on the outside. An NXT chant goes out. Back in the ring, Enzo rolls Dash up, but he tags Dawson in as he is rolled up. Enzo ducks a clothesline attempt and rolls Dawson up, but Dash grabs Enzo and throws him shoulder first into the corner post. Dawson grabs the arm of Enzo and starts dropping elbows on it. Dash tagged back in, and Dawson holds Enzo for Dash to come off the second rope onto Enzo. He gets a 2 count. Dawson tagged back in. Dash with a snapmare to Enzo and Dawson stomping Enzo several times. Dawson gets an armbar on Enzo. Carmella trying to get the crowd into the match. Dawson gets Enzo down on the mat. Enzo works his way back to his feet and tries to get to Cass to make the tag. Dawson picks Enzo up and brings him back to the Revival's corner and puts him in the Tree of Woe. Dash tagged in. He hits a running knee to Enzo. Enzo falls to the mat and then off the apron to the floor. Dawson drops down the clothesline Enzo, who ducks the attempt. Dash throws Enzo back in the ring, where he gets hit with a flying shoulder tackle by Dawson. That was an impressive move. He came out of nowhere, folks. Dawson then throws Enzo back into the ring. Dawson gets Enzo back in the Tree of Woe and kicks him several times. Dawson runs to drive his shoulder into Enzo, who lifts up and Dawson hits the post shoulder first. Cass and Dash both tagged in. Cass cleaning house on the Revival. He clotheslines and hits Dash with a scoop slam. Cass with an Empire elbow and a big splash. Dawson comes in and Cass clotheslines him over the top rope, only to get rolled up by Dash for a 2 count. Cass hits a big boot to Dash and 1 to Dawson when he gets up on the apron. Cass hits the East River crossing on Dash. Enzo tagged in and goes for the rocket launcher. Dawson comes up and knocks Enzo off and he lands on the top rope. Cass comes out after Dawson. Dawson bumps into Carmella. He then puts Carmella in front of him. The crowd boos heavily. Carmella slaps Dawson. Cass rushes Dawson, who throws Cass into the post. Cass comes back and the Revival hit the Shatter Machine on Cass. Dawson tagged in. He goes after Enzo, who is still on the top rope. Enzo battles Dawson and pushes him off. Dash comes in and Enzo takes him out, coming off the top rope. Enzo then rolls up Dawson. He gets a close 2 count. A "This is awesome" chant goes out. They go back and forth with wild shots in the middle of the ring. The referee has put gloves on as Dawson has been cut on the top of his head and is bleeding. Dash tagged in. He gets Enzo down and the Revival then hit the Shatter Machine on Enzo to get the pin. Earlier in the day, Greg Hamilton is shown interviewing Natalya. She says she is dedicating her match to her uncle Bret Hart. Charlotte and Ric Flair come in laughing at Natalya. They think it's cute that Natalya thinks she's going to win. Charlotte says she has a triple threat match at WrestleMania coming up, and Natalya is just a warm-up. Natalya says if she's just a warm-up, then Charlotte won't have any problem putting up the title. Charlotte says weeks away from WrestleMania? Don't think so. Natalya says what Bret says about the Flairs is true. They are cowards. Rick gets angry and Charlotte has to calm him down. Charlotte then says Natalya wants a title shot. She's got one, but she will never win a Divas title again. Divas Championship match. Charlotte with Ric Flair versus Natalya. Charlotte out first. Natalya gets a big ovation when she comes out. Michael Cole brings up the match that the two had at TakeOver as the match that many say made Charlotte. That match is in the archives, by the way. Look at our TakeOver episode. The crowd boos Charlotte and cheers Natalya when announced. Natalya with the early advantage, with takedowns and arm bars. Charlotte comes back with a standing switch and leg scissors. A series of reversals by both wrestlers. They exchange chops. Natalya gets the surfboard on. All Natalya early, but she can't get the pin or submission. Charlotte goes outside and drags Natalya out to regain the advantage. Charlotte beating Natalya down in the corner for a 2 count. Charlotte then drives Natalya into the mat face first several times, and then gets her into a head scissors. Natalya forces Charlotte's shoulders down for a 2 count. Charlotte gets loose and gets a 2 count of her own. Natalya counters with a roll-up for a 2 count. Competitive match so far. Charlotte with a neck breaker and a flare strut, but only gets a 2 count. Charlotte goes to working on the legs of Natalya. Natalya gets a small package for a 2 count as Charlotte goes for the figure 8. Natalya slams Charlotte down face first to the mat. Charlotte then gets Natalya back down and targets the leg again and wraps Natalya's knee against the ring post. Natalya runs Charlotte into the post, back and forth in the middle of the ring. Natalya with a clothesline and goes for the sharpshooter, but Charlotte rolls her up for a 2 count. Charlotte hits a big boot to get Natalya down. Charlotte gets the figure 4 on, but Natalya fighting it and briefly turns it over. Charlotte screaming for Natalya to tap as Natalya screams no. Charlotte goes under the rope, but finally breaks the hold. Charlotte back in, and she hits natural selection on Natalya and gets a 2 count. Several 2 counts, but Natalya keeps kicking out. Charlotte with a suplex. Charlotte goes up top, but gets caught, and Natalya hits a sit-out powerbomb for an extremely close 2 count. A "This is awesome" chant goes out again. Natalya goes for a sharpshooter. Charlotte reverses it. Natalya goes for a sharpshooter. Charlotte reverses it, but Natalya gets the sharpshooter on. Charlotte grabs Ric Flair's hand. Natalya gets up and takes a swipe at Flair, and Charlotte rolls Natalya up and pins her with Charlotte's feet on the ropes. A WWE Network ad. Flashback to the problems Brock Lesnar has had with Bray Wyatt. Wyatt comes out and says he and Luke Harper will slay Brock Lesnar. The crowd chants Suplex City, so it looks like it's 2-on-1. Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman versus Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. Heyman does his usual pre-match spiel. Harper starts with Lesnar. The bell rings and Lesnar gets Harper in the corner and drives his shoulder into Harper over and over. He hits Harper with several forearms before hitting the first suplex on him. Harper falls out of the ring. Wyatt checks on Harper, and then Lesnar comes after Wyatt. Harper gets back in the ring and hits a tope to Lesnar on the outside. Harper then throws Lesnar back in the ring. He hits a series of right hands to Lesnar. He then gets Lesnar into the corner and drives his shoulder into Lesnar several times. Lesnar with a quick reversal to go for another suplex, but Harper grabs the ropes and uses the ropes for leverage to run Lesnar into the corner post. Harper then hits Lesnar with a big boot. A super kick temporarily drops Lesnar down to one knee. Another kick by Harper brings Lesnar down again to one knee. Harper with a spinning discus clothesline and cover to Lesnar, but only gets a 2 count. Harper follows that up with a side headlock into a sleeper. Lesnar slips out and suplexes Harper again. Harper comes back with a big boot to drop Lesnar to one knee. Lesnar up and Harper hits him with another super kick. Harper goes for another discus clothesline that Lesnar ducks and hits Harper with another German suplex. Then 2 more, and someone from the crowd yells out that they want 12 suplexes. Another 2 suplexes. Lesnar then hits the F5 and pins Harper. Wyatt starts backing up the aisle, and Lesnar calmly starts stalking Wyatt up the aisle. An Edge and Christian show ad. Sami Zayn versus Stardust. Stardust is, of course, Cody Rhodes, and this match would take on a very different meaning if it took place in 2023. The bell rings and the crowd is solidly behind Zayn. They lock up, and Stardust with an arm drag. The crowd chants Cody, and Stardust loses his mind. They lock up again, and Stardust with the wrist lock. Zayn trying to break the hold. Stardust drives Zayn back to the mat. Zayn up and reverses the hold to drive Stardust to the mat. Stardust up and pushes off. Zayn leapfrogs off the ropes and hits Stardust with a couple of arm drags and gets Stardust down in an armbar. Stardust up and gets to the ropes to force Zayn to break. Stardust with a corner whip. Zayn up and over the ropes and drives a shoulder into Stardust's midsection. Stardust hits Zayn and then goes outside to grab Zayn's body and pull it by the ring post. Stardust then runs Zayn into the apron kidney first. He then gets Zayn back into the ring and beats him down in the corner. Stardust slams Zayn face first into the mat for a 1 count. Stardust with a wrist lock as a "Let's Go Sammy" chant goes out. Zayn drives backwards to run Stardust into a corner and break the hold, and Stardust counters with a double axe handle to the head to knock Zayn down. Stardust kicks Zayn in the ribs when he tries to get up. Stardust drops some knees on Zayn and goes back to a waist lock. Zayn tries to get back to his feet and finally tosses Stardust off his back. Stardust hits Zayn with a knee lift to knock Zayn back to the ground. Stardust gets a 2 count. Stardust pushes Zayn into a corner, and Zayn comes back with some forearms. Stardust comes back with a short arm clothesline to knock Zayn back down to the mat. Stardust with a reverse Boston Crab. Zayn won't give up, so Stardust stomps on his back and then goes for a back suplex. Zayn lands on his feet and hits Stardust with a back elbow and then a boot to the face as Stardust rushes Zayn in the corner. Stardust comes back with a side slam. Stardust gets a couple of 2 counts. Another series of 2 counts, but Zayn won't stay down. Zayn gets a quick roll-up of Stardust to get a 2 count of his own. Stardust comes back with a series of stomps to Zayn. Stardust grabs Zayn and runs him into the corner post. Stardust then puts Zayn on the top rope and goes for a superplex, but Zayn blocks it and pushes Stardust off. Stardust pops up and goes right back to the top for the superplex as we look at 2 of the most popular performers in 2023 WWE, and I don't know of anyone who was thinking that in 2016. Stardust hits the superplex. He gets a close 2 count. Zayn has a glazed look on his face. Stardust takes one glove off and hits Zayn with a series of kicks. Stardust runs the ropes and Zayn pops up and hits a clothesline on Stardust. Zayn with another clothesline as Saxon says that Zayn is trying to will himself back into this match. Zayn with an Irish whip drops his head too early and Stardust kicks him in the face. Zayn comes back with a clothesline. He then hits Stardust with a series of corner mounted punches. He follows that up with a scoop slam and goes up top. Stardust pops up, so Zayn leapfrogs over him to avoid getting hit. Stardust rushes Zayn, who drops down and grabs the bottom rope to cause Stardust to spill to the outside. Zayn runs and hits a suicide dive to Stardust on the outside. Zayn throws Stardust back in and hits a Blue Thunder Bomb for a 2 count. Zayn goes for a suplex. Stardust spins out. A couple of standing switches. Stardust goes for the Queen's Crossbow. Zayn hits a Snapmare instead. Stardust hits a Disaster Kick for an extremely close 2 count. Zayn rolls to the ropes to try to pull himself up. Stardust rushes Zayn, who catches Stardust with an intense suplex into the corner. Zayn hits the Haluva Kick and pins Stardust. Someone in the crowd keeps passing by with a Trump McMahon campaign sign, and all I can think of is please God no. Highlight package for the main event. Main event for the WWE Championship. Triple H versus Dean Ambrose. Triple H out first and does the usual water routine, and he looks intense. Ambrose is shown walking through hallways before he comes out. I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same, huh? He gets into Triple H's face as he comes in. They separate and the introductions are made. The referee presents the belt and the bell rings. Dueling Let's Go Ambrose Triple H chants go out. They lock up and Triple H with a side headlock into a hammerlock, then into a side headlock takeover. Ambrose pushes off. Triple H comes back with a shoulder block. Ambrose gets up and goes to a corner. Another lockup and Triple H transitions back to the hammerlock and then hips lock Ambrose to the mat. Ambrose gets back to his feet quickly. They circle each other again. Triple H with a quick jab to Ambrose's face. The dueling chants go out again and they lock up. Triple H with a wrist lock into a standing armbar to drive Ambrose to his knees. Ambrose spins out of the move and gets a side headlock takeover on Triple H. Triple H back to his feet and hits a knee to Ambrose's midsection. Triple H with a side headlock. Ambrose pushes off. Triple H comes back with a shoulder block. Triple H runs the ropes and Ambrose hits him with a hip toss. Ambrose with an arm drag into an armbar on Triple H. Ambrose pats Triple H on the head and then goes over and lays over the top rope to piss Triple H off. Ambrose then mimes the suck it chant to Triple H. Ambrose transitions into a side headlock as a CM Punk chant goes out. Triple H goes to push off and Ambrose grabs Triple H's nose. That's a unique move that I haven't seen before. Ambrose then hits Triple H with a jab. Triple H rushes Ambrose, who hits Triple H with a series of arm drags into an armbar. Ambrose then sticks his fingers into Triple H's nose trying to break it. Insert your own Triple H nose joke here, folks. I can't do everything for you. Ambrose gets to his feet and starts working on Triple H's fingers, looking to break them. Ambrose with a front face lock, but Triple H drives Ambrose to the corner. Let's Go Ambrose Triple H chants go out again. Triple H drives his shoulder into Ambrose repeatedly. Triple H with a right hand to knock Ambrose up against the ropes. Back and forth with right hands in the center of the ring. Triple H with a knee to the stomach and then runs Ambrose headfirst into the turnbuckle. Triple H with an Irish whip. Ambrose ducks the clothesline attempt and comes back with a crossbody to Triple H. Ambrose then clotheslines Triple H over the top rope. Ambrose comes out after Triple H, who knees Ambrose in the stomach and then throws him into the ring. Ambrose spins on the apron and comes back with the clothesline to Triple H on the outside. A double count going. Triple H gets back in the ring, and Ambrose clips his leg. Triple H gets up limping, and Ambrose clips the leg again, and the announcers say that Ambrose has found a weakness in Triple H. Ambrose gets Triple H in the corner and wraps the injured leg around the ropes. Ambrose runs and drop kicks the injured leg. Ambrose pulls Triple H's leg between the ring posts and runs the injured leg into the post. Triple H tries to get back to his feet, and Ambrose goes up to the second rope and drops a fist on the injured leg, and Triple H goes down again. Triple H rolls to the outside looking to regroup, and he is limping badly. Ambrose comes out after him, and Triple H kicks him in the stomach and goes for the pedigree, and Ambrose with a double leg pickup to knock Triple H to his back. Triple H kicks Ambrose into the ring steps. Triple H picks Ambrose up and drops him stomach first on the barricade. Triple H gets back in the ring, and Ambrose makes it back on the 8 count. And Triple H drops a knee on Ambrose as soon as he gets back in the ring. Triple H then chokes Ambrose on the bottom rope. He breaks on the 4 count. Triple H then slingshots Ambrose throat first into the second rope. Triple H gets a 1 count. Triple H with a face first suplex to Ambrose. Triple H kicks Ambrose and drops an elbow to his back. Ambrose tries to roll away, but Triple H drops another elbow. Triple H puts Ambrose into a modified crossface. Ambrose refuses to give up. Triple H tells him to quit. Triple H frustrated and starts dropping elbows on Ambrose. Triple H with a corner whip. Ambrose hits the turnbuckle back first and falls to the mat. Triple H comes over and grabs Ambrose by the hair, and Ambrose trying to fight back with punches to Triple H's midsection. Ambrose with right and left hands. He then rushes Triple H, who hits Ambrose with a spine buster. He gets a 2 count. The crowd boos. Triple H gets Ambrose in a front face lock and then puts him on the top rope. Triple H goes up, but Ambrose headbutts and hits a forearm to Triple H to knock him off the turnbuckle. Ambrose comes off the top rope with a flying elbow. Double count going. Both up at 7, and Triple H with a right hand to Ambrose to knock him down. Ambrose up, and the two exchange right hands in the middle of the ring. Ambrose with a flurry of left and right hands to Triple H to drive him into the corner. He then chops and stomps Triple H down in the corner. He follows that up with a flying forearm. Triple H gets back to his feet, but he is reeling. Ambrose with a bulldog. He gets a 2 count. Triple H drags himself up by the ropes in the corner and begs off. Ambrose with corner-mounted punches. Triple H comes back with an inverted atomic drop and goes for the pedigree. Ambrose counters with a double leg pickup and a roll-up for a 2 count. Ambrose goes for dirty deeds, but Triple H blocks it. Ambrose reverses an Irish whip, but drops his head, and Triple H drives his knee into Ambrose's face. Ambrose off the ropes and comes back with a clothesline. He gets a close 2 count. Triple H up in a corner and comes out with a clothesline as Ambrose rushes him. Triple H goes for the pedigree, but Ambrose backdrops him over the top rope. Ambrose runs to hit a suicide dive, but runs into a right hand by Triple H as he gets to the ropes. Triple H starts taking the announce table apart. He goes to grab Ambrose, who drives Triple H into the ring steps on his bad leg. Ambrose throws Triple H back in the ring and starts to climb up top. Triple H falls on the ropes, and Ambrose crotches himself on the ropes. Triple H with a pedigree attempt, and Ambrose again gets the double leg pickup, figuring if it's not broke, don't fix it. Ambrose gets a figure 4 on. Don't tell Flair. Triple H is fighting to get out, but he's in the middle of the ring. Triple H reaching up towards Ambrose, who slaps Triple H a couple of times. Triple H comes back with a series of punches to Ambrose. Triple H breaks the figure 4 and hits a belly-to-back suplex, but Ambrose lands on his feet. Another double leg pickup, and Ambrose gets Triple H into the sharpshooter in Canada. Someone may need to check on Bret Hart. JBL wonders if this makes Ambrose an honorary Hart, as Triple H is fighting desperately to get out of the move. Triple H trying to power his way to the ropes. Ambrose pulls him back to the center of the ring. Triple H pulls himself by pure force back into the ropes and grabs them. Ambrose finally breaks the hold on the 4 count. Triple H rolls out to the apron, and Ambrose grabs him as he gets up. Triple H guillotines Ambrose on the top rope. Triple H then comes back inside, and as he gets close to Ambrose, Ambrose hits dirty deeds. The referee counts 3, but the ref then waves it off because he says Ambrose's feet were under the bottom rope. Ambrose arguing with the referee in the corner as the crowd chants bullshit. Triple H rolls Ambrose up with his feet on the second rope, and Ambrose still kicks out at 2. Ambrose with a corner whip that drives Triple H up and over to the outside. Ambrose then drives Triple H into the barricade. Ambrose then throws Triple H back in the ring as a "This is awesome" chant goes out. Ambrose goes up top as Triple H falls out to the floor. Ambrose hits a flying elbow on Triple H. Ambrose then mocks Triple H with a suck it gesture. Ambrose puts Triple H on the announce table. He hits him with a series of punches, then goes back in to break the count. Ambrose then goes back outside and climbs up on the barricade. He goes to deliver a flying elbow, but Triple H moves and Ambrose goes crashing through the table. A holy shit chant goes out. Triple H rolls back in, and Ambrose gets back in the ring just before the 10 count, only to run into a pedigree from Triple H. Triple H then pins Ambrose. That was a great match. Triple H grabs the WWE Championship. He falls out of the ring and crawls towards the back. The announcers review what just happened and preview WrestleMania before signing off from Toronto. Final thoughts. This was a really good show that suffered from being too close to WrestleMania so that nothing of importance was going to happen. It's still worth at least one watch. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts. I would really appreciate it. You can support the show at paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.